All right, welcome to the new round number 4. I apologize for the cutoff at the end of that last video. My opponent conceded the entire match right where it was cut off, which for whatever reason caused Magic Online to crash, and for whatever reason on top of that caused the remainder of that video, which wasn't anything except a little bit of me talking, and the next 2 videos even, to be riddled with moto crashes and corrupting those videos. So unfortunately, those 2 videos are just lost forever. We did finish that league 4-1, but here I am recording another two matches in hopes that I didn't want to leave you with only 3, sort of hardly even 3, with our opponent conceding there kind of early after just game 1. So anyway, here we are with a new round 4. Sorry for all that. Thank you for putting up with it. I wish Moto was a little bit less buggy, but here we are. This is a keep blind. We are on the play. Having 2 Ancestrals is kind of a bummer. It does incentivize us to sort of suspend 1 on turn 1. The issue, obviously, is that we're pretty far away from doing anything productive here, right? I'm not even cycling this. Next turn, I'm going to be casting this Chalice. And then, you know, we're pretty far away from actually living ending. But hopefully, this Chalice can buy us some time. This is not really a great matchup for all of that. Chalice on 1 against Affinity is honestly not hitting a lot. He still catches Signal Pests, additional drums. Gal Blast is kind of big game. I could put it on 0, but obviously that's just so atrocious for me that I can't actually afford to do that. So we're going to go ahead and just jam this for 1 in hopes that we get something with it. Obviously a Chalice on 2 would be a little bit more exciting, but by the time we'd possibly be putting something like that down, it would no longer be relevant. This coming turn, we're going to be pretty glad we have the Field of Ruin, I think. Especially with the Steel Overseer coming down. Another 2-drop is sad for me. Ravager, yeah, it's not great. Wonder if I'm not supposed to Field of Ruin because we found a Darkslick Shores, right? Something like Cryptic could punish me really hard, plus I have multiple cyclers. I guess we're going to end up waiting to Field of Ruin, which does mean they're going to get to sack that to Ravager, but I think that's important anyway. Ravager, of course, is particularly bad for us as is, just because of our living end plan. So I think this is going to be real tough. I don't think this matchup is great, but I don't think it's necessarily atrocious either. But the kind of hand that we've kept is certainly not strong here. Excuse me. So we're going to take 4 damage at least. Probably just the 4. Don't imagine my opponent's particularly interested. Oh, okay, they don't need this drum anymore. So we're going to take 5 instead and a couple poison. Opponent passes back to us, and we'll get to cycle some stuff. I think I am going to have to cycle this, unfortunately. Jeez, okay. Got a couple lands. Remand. There's some incentive in me blowing up a land now, obviously, since my opponent wouldn't get to eat it with the Ravager. But I'm going to take more Infect because of it, essentially. I think that's still fine. Oh, I guess I could die to Infect if that's the case. Yeah, I guess I just can't field now. So I would just die to Infect, right? Unless I kill the Ink Moth. But then I would just die to damage, right? They ship both the Blink Moths in. That's already 2, 3, 4, 5, 8, 9. I guess I wouldn't die. Whereas if I kill like a blink moth here, they get to ship those in, grow that to 3, eat a bunch of stuff. I guess I didn't count them eating opal or potentially like a Darksteel Citadel. That would be going to 11. But I'm just very dead if I field now or don't field the ink moth. I think I'm supposed to just wait. Like, me representing things is probably worthwhile as well. I mean, in theory, I'm giving my opponent more mana this turn. I guess that's not great, but... maybe we can get them to cast a spell instead of just chipping with these. Which obviously we really want to encourage them to do because of the remand. But we will likely fail to do so. Attacking with the ink moths just makes, or the blink moths makes so much more sense. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 9, as we said. Now if I field, gosh, even if I living end here, I'm just in so much trouble. So if I field this, they eat it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, I'm just gonna field this. Keep our life total as high as possible. At least we get to draw 3 next turn, but yeah, I mean, we're going to be in trouble even through living end here with our opponent just having a bunch of man lands we have to worry about. Wait, what just happened? Why didn't we get our land? Did I just, like, somehow click no? Oh, they sack it. Duh, okay. Like, for some reason thinking I clicked through it when I already talked about how they were going to eat their guy. I guess that's the biggest disadvantage of doing it on my opponent's turn, but I just don't need the land, so I think it's fine. Ooh, that's a lot of bricking. I don't think I can possibly draw anything now, right? I mean, I don't have the As Foretold or Living, and I can't draw them both off of this one draw. So, yeah, we're just quite dead here. I also couldn't draw into Cryptic, obviously. Alright. We don't have the Hercules Recall, but we do have the Echoing Truths. We do have double Engineered Explosives, which is great. Might want some number of Macabres, just because of how efficient Arcbound Ravager is at disrupting our primary plan. Obstructionists could also be worth it. I think Echoing Truths are definitely going to be worth it. Remands are pretty bad. I think Chalices are just going to be way too slow, especially since I can't realistically zero them in this matchup. The birds, like, sometimes the cycling will be relevant, and also they are a flying blocker, which is certainly not irrelevant against this deck. The Brawl's Expertise is just going to be too slow, and they're not a Chalice deck, which we mostly just have that for Chalice decks. I don't want the Commandeer. So I think we'll just jam these Macabres in the final slots. Remands could be okay on the play over the Macabres. I think I would actually rather have the Macabres, though. So obviously it gives me very little to do early other than cycle, but I think that's fine because that's really what I want to be doing most of the time in this matchup anyway. Maybe I want, like, Negate or whatever to try and deal with, like, Rest in Peace, potentially. We obviously have the Echoing Truths and the Cryptics and the Engineered Explosives in, but that's not necessarily going to be good enough, obviously. There was some redundancy there, but you understand what I mean, I hope. Opponent down to 5. But they keep their 5. Scry to the top. And we're just going to start on island. Cycle a striped Riverwinder here. Citadel Pest. I guess I shouldn't do this yet. Opponent can certainly have more to do. Okay, it looks like that's going to be it for them. Couple cryptics. Just going to cycle this turn. I'm probably going to need to transmute this TOS this game, so not very comfortable playing it there. Plus, we're obviously going to be drawing 3 cards before we need to make our next land drop, so hopefully we can find an alternative. Opal, Steel Overseer. Sure. So this is a spot where like Remand would have been okay, right? Which is why I was considering not cutting all of those on the play, but our opponent did mulligan to 5 as well, which is one of the reasons I think that looks appealing. But on top of that, we're pretty happy just to be cycling here. So finding the living end is good. The explosives is definitely not bad. We did find an untapped land. However, the explosives is kind of clunky right now, where we can't really kill multiple things. I think this turn cycle will probably just cycle Obstructionist to like counter a Steel Overseer trigger and draw a card, continuing to dig towards As Foretold. Obviously, countering this trigger is not really why we're cycling it. It's just like an opportunity to cycle it and get something out of it while still getting deeper in our deck towards As Foretold. Sure. So explosives on 2 looking particularly appealing next turn now. If we can find a land here. Make sure we don't counter the Battle Cry trigger there. Alright, there's a land. So we're going to play this so that this makes black. Black, blue, explosives on 2, and pop it now so they don't get to activate these Overseers. That also gives us our cryptics, of course, which is nice. We're in a pretty good spot. Just need to dig towards As Foretold here. We've got this transmute for some luxury as well, if we like, for some utility rather as well, if we need to go find something a little more exciting. Double Straight Wraith, not great here, but we will go ahead and go through those. Tempted to just play Curator here, since it sort of puts up a brick wall if my opponent doesn't have Gal Blast. But if they do have Gal Blast, it won't be great for us. I don't like not making my land drop this turn. I'm going to use Cryptic Tap just to save myself the 4 damage, I think. If not, then I should definitely just be playing this. But playing the T-West is kind of lame because I would really like to tutor up another explosives this game. I think with 2 Cryptics, I'm just going to Cryptic Tap here. It's not the most exciting Cryptic. It is only 4, but we really are just trying to find the As Foretold so we can end this game. Plating, but we found the Truth. I also have to be a little bit concerned about the potential that my opponent just draws. Whoops. That my opponent just draws a... rest in peace, excuse me, for stumbling a little bit there. We'll go ahead and cycle this as well. There's a Riverwinder. I'm going to play one of these now that I've found another, and then just use the Truth to save myself from taking a million. Hopefully they just don't have a second Black Source equipped to a Vault Scourge, and then I get to like bounce the Vault Scourges in combat for sort of maximum irritation for our opponent. If not, I'll have to like bounce the Cranial Plating and just take 4, but like if they have a Black Source, okay. Now I'm almost tempted to bounce the platings. But my opponent's not going to be able to recast these Scourges, so... Probably still just going to bounce the Scourges to keep my life total as high as possible. Obviously, Hercules here would be insane, which is the card that we've opted not to play. Cycle this up front, still digging. Yeah, we'll cycle this too. All right, still nothing. Probably going to use Cryptic this turn. No, well, yeah, probably. Let's just cycle this. Could actually die. I'm putting myself in danger here a little bit. Although next turn I actually have the ability to EE on 2 after transmuting, so I guess we'll be okay since we've hit enough lands here. If they just like double equip here, we'll just bounce the Signal Pest in combat. If they like equip to a land as well, then we'll just tap team. Return, draw. Another land. So they're going to get to keep a Vault Scourge. We're at a point where I can actually cast this Riverwinder against Affinity. It's kind of silly. Transmute this for that explosives, as I said. Make sure we click on the right guy there. I guess double check to make sure it's not something better, but I doubt it. Yeah. Have not played a land yet, so got to play it for the black mana first. So click on this, blue, black. Is there any reason to pop this now? No, everything that they would have I could just respond to, right? And if they had like a Ravager, and I popped it now, they could get in for more damage. Or another plating, I guess, makes more sense, rather. Yeah, if they had like a welding jar or whatever, I could obviously just respond to that. I would have suspended this if we had, I guess it's worth mentioning because the suspend thing comes up. I would have suspended this Ancestral at some point this game if I had really had the opportunity. Interesting. The only other card is Vault Scourge. So I don't really understand. Oh, they just want to animate that. Makes sense. Okay. I don't know why I'm not thinking about that. So we will pop this here just to save the 3 damage. But anyway, yeah, it's worth mentioning that this is a game where I would have suspended this had I ever had the spare mana. I just haven't really been an opportunity. Haven't had an opportunity to do that. So this is just going to be huge. So Riverwinder will be smaller. I just need dig. Okay, we found it. So that means we do cycle this. And our opponent should just be pretty dead from there. Even found the other As Foretold, so we can draw 3 as well. Blading on bottom. Ink Moth, Blank Moth, okay. Doesn't really matter though, obviously. Alrighty. Game 3, we are going to be on the draw. Obviously, remands get even worse. So we're still particularly happy to have those out. You can make an argument for the negate, perhaps. I still think I like what we've got here. Commandeer is sort of interesting, where, like, taking a plating could be great, or redirecting a Gal Blast, but I think it's just not right here, especially because I've taken out a lot of blue cards as well and put in black ones as well as left in a bunch of black ones. Fourth Street Wraith is a little bit questionable, but I think it's fine overall. Affinity, a lot of the time, is going to be hitting you in very large chunks anyway. Sometimes, like, you get Gal Blasted out, and obviously in those games we'd rather not have the Street Wraiths, but they will come up. Sorry, I always get distracted and start thinking about other things before I finish my sentences, and then I just, like, trail off into nothingness. This hand is not terribly exciting, but it's really hard to pass up just, like, untap lands with cyclers, since you get to see a bunch of additional cards. Obviously, if our opponent's hand's particularly productive and we just kind of brick, then we're in trouble. And there are some hands that I'd be a lot more excited about keeping, you know, particularly hands that had Living End and As Foretold in their opener, but we're still going to fire these things off and just hope for the best here. Another cycler is not the worst. Okay. Well, opponent's going to be able to put on a lot of pressure this turn, but it could be worse, for sure. I mean, plating would be worse. Ravager's very bad. So that's something. Archfiend helps a little bit in that regard, where, like, if my opponent uses a Ravager to, like, rebuild their board after I Living End, at least we sort of have something to combat that a bit. I'm not going to cycle the Archfiend yet, though, since I'm multiple cards away from getting my opponent. All right, are we just dead here? I might have to counter this ability into Cryptic. Cryptic might not work, though, because of the lands can kill me off the Ravager. Guess I play Field of Ruin. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think this is just the best thing I can do, unfortunately. The fact that we haven't found As Foretold or Living End yet is pretty troubling in this matchup. We just don't really have time. So, I mean, that's kind of why I say in our opener, right? Like, this hand's not very exciting, but I think we're going to keep because we get to look at some cards. But the matchup doesn't really give us a lot of time to just go look at a bunch of cards, right? We hope to stall with things like Explosives and Cryptics and Echoing Truths and whatever. But if our opponent puts on a lot of pressure on the play and we just brick off, then we're not really going to have time to dirtle too long before we're just dead. Which is where Sideboard Hurkyl's really come in handy here over something like Baral's. And if you expected to see a lot of Affinity, I think you would likely have, and you were interested in playing this deck, I think you would likely have to play a reasonable number of Hurkyl's Recall on your board. At least one, probably two. But if you don't expect to see a lot of Affinity, you can probably get away with stuff like the Echoing Truths, which are just better in matchups where you expect to see, like, you know, Rest in Peace or Leyline of the Void or whatever other hate that you want to deal with. So we're going to counter that ability, get to draw another card. It's a Street Wraith. So we're on the Cryptic plan. Problem is these lands are scary. Ugh, Darksteel Citadel was the worst thing for me there because they get another mana to work with as well as that artifact. I mean, Opal's obviously the same there, but that's not good. It's not good. I mean, if I try to Cryptic tap, they can not activate their Inkbound's response, but they could still steal Overseer in response, making their Ravager a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They can actually Xaxes me with the Ink Moth, I believe, if they had not done this already. But if they just animate and go to combat here, we're okay. I don't know why I don't have priority. Okay, cool. Tap draw. I guess they had priority in the beginning of combat. They're thinking about doing something. Tap draw is fine. I mean, they float. Actually, I guess I need to count it again. Because I might have to bounce this. They activate this, float a mana. Ravager goes to 3. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, it is actually lethal. So I have to bounce this. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10. Yeah. All right. So tap bounce. I guess it's good that they already played a land for me as well, so I don't have to worry about that next turn. So I guess this is a cycle, this Riverwinder. Cycle Street Wraith. There's no reason to cycle the Street Wraith now if I am not possibly hitting, if I still don't have As Foretold or Living End, which I still have neither of. This T-West, though, puts me in a position where next turn, if I don't have to spend any mana up front, I can transmute for the for the Living End if we draw the As Foretold. Again, my opponent does get to rebuild their board state pretty well, but I do get to put a lot in my yard here. And if I get to cycle this Archfiend first, that'll put us in a pretty great spot. Now we're at the point where I would die to the Blink Moth as well, right? I mean, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 11, 12. Yeah, I mean, they could 12 me with the Blink Moth. So I have to tap and bounce that, unfortunately. Animate in response. Wait, what just happened? Oh, they sacked it. I'm so dumb. I'm so dumb. They could have done that last turn too, though, yeah? I mean, I guess I didn't have a choice because I was dead either way. But why didn't I see that? Yeah, it's not like Cryptic targets a player, so just no more legal targets there. What should I have done differently in that case? Oh, what a heartbreaker. As Foretold on top. What should I have done differently in that case? Tap bounce Ravager? No, they just sacked the Ravager. Just tap draw and hope they don't. I mean, I guess they didn't. They're less likely to see this line than the just sack all my guys to put it on my land. Maybe if I upkeep it, they're more likely to do something wrong. I don't know. I guess I'm just very dead. Oh well, that's a little bit poor by me, unfortunately. I should have realized that they were going to be able to do that. But either way, I will see you for the final round in just a moment.